My boyfriend has very thick hair, yet he insists on wearing a wig and strictly forbids me from touching it. Once, in the middle of an intimate moment, I couldn't resist and gently tugged at his hair. To my shock, he lashed out in fury and slapped me hard across the face. "Violet, if a man raises his hand against you even once, he's not worth keeping, no matter how handsome. He's trash," cried my best friend Lucy Havlin, her eyes red with rage and sympathy. While applying aloe gel to my cheek, she grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the police station. "That bastard, Lucas Shepard, hit you like a lunatic. Let's call the cops right now, babe." Lucas's slap had left me dazed, and tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. He was usually so gentle. Unemployed, yes, but always polite, soft-spoken, and incredibly good-looking. The ideal boyfriend, or so I thought. What happened today? Why had he become like this? The more I thought about it, the more heartbroken I felt. I hugged Lucy tightly and sobbed into her shoulder, pouring my heart out. All I did was tug at his wig a little. I didn't even damage it. Did he really have to explode like that? Lucy's body stiffened. She gently lifted my head from her shoulder and looked at me with sudden seriousness. "Wait, I remember Lucas had thick hair. Are you saying it was fake?" I sniffled and nodded. "He naturally has a lot of hair. He doesn't need a wig at all. But that wig of his is so realistic, so dark and shiny. He insists on wearing it no matter what." Lucy grew more suspicious with each word. "How long has this been going on?" I blinked, thinking, "Ever since we started dating. He always said his hair wasn't thick enough, that the wig made him feel more confident." Lucy was speechless for a second. "Oh my God, girl, you're way too naive. He already has thick hair and still insists on wearing a wig? What, does he want to look taller or something? Think hard, doesn't that seem suspicious?" I sniffed. "Then what do you think it means?" Lucy frowned, deep in thought. "You said you touched the wig when he was in the shower, right? Did you notice anything strange about it?" I squinted as I tried to remember. It looked like any normal store-bought wig, really, except a few strands were uneven in length, kind of messy. Nothing too odd. Quality seemed good, the lining was quite thick. "What? A wig with a lining?" I nodded, still trying to recall. The lining was reddish-white, thick and soft, like flesh. It felt a little sticky to the touch.
Lucy turned pale. She yanked off her own curly wig and shoved it into my hands, revealing her dyed purple hair underneath. "Take a good look. Do any wigs come with a lining like that?" I turned her wig over in my hands, inspecting it. Maybe it's just a different brand. Some wigs have linings, some don't. "Idiot," Lucy whispered harshly, locking eyes with me. "Be honest, did the lining look like real scalp? Were there tiny blood vessels visible?" I hesitated, then nodded slowly. To be honest, I had thought it looked strange, but Lucas's slap had been so sudden, I hadn't had time to examine it closely. Normally, wig adhesives are clear or pale white, but that wig, one side was normal hair, the other side covered in tiny red veins. It really did look like a real human scalp. Lucy slapped her thigh. "I knew it! Lucas Shepard is bad news. The creepy part isn't the hair, it's what's underneath. That's not lining, Violet. It's called a barrier of the three realms. It's made from the scalp of a corpse, stripped of all proteins and processed into a disguise. Lucas Shepard is definitely a wandering spirit. Without the barrier, he wouldn't be able to maintain a human form." I was stunned into silence. Ever since graduation, Lucy hadn't held down a proper job. She mostly survived by doing fortune-telling live streams, wearing masks, hats, and setting up incense smoke behind her. It all looked eerily convincing. I didn't exactly look down on traditional practices, but I never really believed in ghosts or spirits. Still, Lucy had been in the game so long, everything she said had that mystic flair to it. Looking at her now, it felt like she was doing a reading on me. But we were best friends, and I knew she had her pride. The last thing she wanted was to be contradicted, so I didn't want to kill her vibe. Lucy, even if you're right, what would Lucas get out of doing this? I met him just after he lost his job. His good looks totally charmed me, so I paid for everything. Food, rent, you name it. I even let him move into my luxury riverside apartment, 350 square meters of prime real estate. Lucy, seeing that I still doubted her, suddenly stared at the top of my head. Have you been losing hair lately? Every strand you shed becomes a new one on his head. All the information about you is stored in your hair follicles. When he's sucked all your energy dry and you've gone bald, he will become you. Completely.
I was still completely confused. What does he gain from becoming me? Well, he'll be able to access your wealth without having to beg you for it, obviously, Lucy Haviland said, staring directly into my eyes. He hit you because you touched his wig and wasted all the energy he had been gathering. Ghosts hate wasting time. If he doesn't fully become you within 6 months, he'll have to start his cultivation all over again, and that would cost him another 300 years. 6 months? I counted on my fingers. 3 days left? Honestly, I'd rather believe Lucas Shepard was a violent man than accept he was a ghost. Lucy was definitely getting too into character. I wanted to let things go peacefully, but she only got more serious. You need to break up with him immediately, then come with me to meet my master. We'll figure out how to capture that spirit. We can't let him harm anyone else. I knew how Lucy was. Stubborn, unshakable, she wouldn't give up until she saw proof with her own eyes. When I stayed silent, she huffed loudly. You don't believe me? Fine. Tonight, wait until he's asleep. Take off his wig. If he doesn't reveal his true form in 30 minutes, I'll shut up for good. Good grief. Just a moment ago, she wanted to call the police, and now she wanted me to sleep in the same room with him? I teased her. Didn't you say he's draining my life force? 1 minute you're dragging me to the cops, now you're telling me to sleep beside him? Lucy let out a long sigh. Because, Violet, you're a hopeless romantic. A pretty face and an apology is all it takes to melt you. What's the point of me even trying? She wasn't wrong. Only a best friend would understand me that well. She had met all 10 of my exes. From tan-skinned jocks to male models, boxers, and even a handsome factory worker, all attractive in their own way. And Lucy had disliked every single one of them. It was like she had a personal grudge. Only when Lucas Shepard came around did she tone it down, though even then her criticisms came with a side of reluctant respect. Every time I bragged about our romance, she'd roll her eyes and say, "He's just mooching off you. Looks gentle on the outside, calculating on the inside. You're blinded by looks and bound to get hurt." But so what? It's my money. I can buy cars, houses, designer bags. Why not a hot boyfriend too? How I spend it is my business. I was hopelessly in love with Lucas's face. One look and I couldn't stay mad. Seeing Lucy fuming beside me, I couldn't help but reach out and tap her on the nose. So, if he's really draining my life force, what should I do now? My master is powerful. As long as you cooperate, I guarantee you'll recover your energy completely. Then she switched topics. Be honest, love is one thing, but did you ever give him money? I shook my head. I was still careful with my finances. Plus, Lucy was single too, and always joked, if we don't get married, we'll go cha-cha in a retirement home together. Money in hand, peace of mind. I was saving for a future with my best friend, growing old together in style.
That answer finally put her at ease. She reminded me over and over to call her immediately if anything happened, then finally left. Not long after, Lucas Shepherd came back, head down, hands full of snacks, milk tea, and grilled food. His face was flushed, and he stood awkwardly in front of me, unsure of what to say. Thinking of that slap earlier made my eyes well up with tears, so I sulked and ignored him. Moments later, Lucas dropped to his knees, tears falling down his cheeks. "I'm sorry, baby. I lost my head. I should never have hit you. You've always treated me with such care. You're my everything, Violet. I was wrong." His skin was pale as snow, his eyes glistening with tears. It was heartbreaking. He looked like a tragic figure in a painting of snow falling in a plum garden. When I didn't push him away, he grew bolder. He pulled me into his arms, kissed me softly, and I wrapped my arms around his neck. My fingers brushed against the pulse in his neck. Suddenly, Lucy's words about wandering souls came to mind, and I couldn't help but giggle inside. How could he be a ghost? I could see him, feel him. He was warm, solid, very much there. After a round of bed creaking and sighs, Lucas panted and went into the bathroom. He kissed my forehead before leaving. "Be good. I'll get you a warm towel." He walked into the bathroom, still wearing that wig. He slept deeply. The moment he hit the pillow, he began snoring softly. Bathed in moonlight, I looked at Lucas Shepherd's face, so stunning I couldn't help drooling a little. Thick brows, high nose bridge, sharp jawline. I could never get tired of looking at him. But then Lucy's words came back again. Should I give it a try? I looked toward the wig, still perfectly perched on his head. I reached out to touch it, but then my nose itched. I lifted my hand to tuck some hair behind my ear. Wait, why had an entire clump of my hair come off with it? Moonlight glinted off the strands, as clear as day. Panicking, I turned toward Lucas. Just moments ago, he was snoring away. Now, his eyes were wide open, staring at me, blank. His mouth curled into a grotesque, twisted grin. My heart leapt to my throat, and I stumbled backward in panic. But worse, his eyes had a strange power. Under his gaze, I couldn't utter a sound. The bed was 2.3 meters wide, but right now, there was nowhere to run. All I could do was watch as Lucas Shepherd, with that eerie smile, began to crawl toward me, inch by inch, like a puppet. At that very moment, a thick clump of long black hair suddenly grew out of Lucas Shepherd's wig, without warning, without reason. The newly grown hair drooped down, covering his eyes. Lucas smiled, but his voice echoed unnaturally, as if coming from a distant cave. "Violet, didn't anyone ever teach you not to poke your nose into things that don't belong to you?" He reached a hand toward my hair. "I think your hair is beautiful. You have it, and I need it." The smile vanished. He suddenly yanked my hair hard, pulling my head back with terrifying force, and began screaming hoarsely, "Give it to me! Give it to me! Give it to me!" The searing pain tore at my scalp, and I screamed, "Ah!" "What the hell are you screaming for? Did you wrestle a cow last night? Can't even get up now?" Lucy Haviland's annoyed voice snapped me awake. My whole body trembled as I sat bolt upright. The first thing I did was reach up and grab my head, my heart still racing wildly. Thank God, my hair was still there, my scalp intact, my head still attached. But last night, I could still remember how fiercely Lucas had yanked my hair. Before I could calm down, I saw Lucy sitting cross-legged across from me, glaring with narrowed eyes. "Did you finish the task I gave you?" My heart was still pounding. I couldn't speak right away. Lucy grew impatient. "Well, say something. Did you manage to hide his wig last night? Did he reveal his true form?" Blushing, I hesitantly gave her a summarized version of what happened. As expected, I got an earful. She scolded me for being so obsessed with pretty boys that I didn't even care about my own life. I wanted to dig a hole and crawl into it, but I still tried to argue back. It wasn't my fault. Lucas guards that wig like it's made of gold. I couldn't even touch it, let alone hide it. Lucy's face darkened. "Idiot! Fine, leave it to me." Just then, Lucas Shepherd came back from the market. His complexion looked rosy, and when he saw Lucy, he greeted her enthusiastically. "I just picked up some groceries. I'll cook today. The three of us can eat together." Lucy nodded dismissively, then suddenly suggested, "Lucas, Violet just said she's craving hot pot. Cooking at home will make all our clothes smell. Why don't we eat out instead? My treat." Lucas hesitated, then turned to look at me for my opinion. I gave a reluctant nod. "Sure, let's go, but I'll treat." As soon as we sat down at the hot pot place, Lucy shot Lucas a look. "How about we get some juice? Violet, what do you want to drink?" "Fresh coconut." Lucas stood up immediately. "I'll go get it." The moment he left, I leaned in and whispered, "What exactly are you planning?" Lucy's face turned a little pale. "Didn't you say he refuses to ever take off that wig? I'm trying to find a way to make him take it off." I sensed something was wrong and was about to stop her, but Lucas returned smiling like nothing had happened. He set 2 coconuts on the table. "Here, I picked the ones at room temperature for both of you." "Thanks," I said, but Lucy grabbed one faster than I could and used too much force. The coconut flew straight toward Lucas's forehead. I was standing while he was sitting. His hand was raised above his head. If nothing stopped it, the coconut would smack him square in the face. I gasped sharply, "Lucas!" What happened next left me speechless. The coconut suddenly changed direction in midair. Lucas, as if he had foreseen it, calmly caught it with one hand. Not a single strand of hair was out of place. "Lucy, you're stronger than you look. That coconut flew like a plastic ball," Lucas chuckled. That smile chilled me to the bone. It was exactly the same, or maybe even scarier than the one I saw in my dream. I glanced at Lucy. She was frozen, stiff, her face dark as soot. I wiped the sweat from my brow and quickly pulled her down to sit, trying to ease the tension. I shoved the coconut back into her hands. "You probably didn't sleep well last night, huh? Can't even hold a coconut properly." Lucy didn't respond. She just pressed her lips together and glared at Lucas across the table. The atmosphere turned suffocating. Luckily, the chef came out just then with the hot pot broth. "Careful, it's boiling hot. One splash and it'll burn your skin right off." But just as he raised the pot, I saw his expression change. He had been walking steadily, but his legs suddenly shook violently. He stumbled and fell forward. Amid the cries of nearby diners, The chef let out a pained yell and collapsed. The boiling hot pot broth tipped and poured directly onto Lucas Shepard's head. All I could do was watch as the scalding liquid drenched him. Within seconds, his skin blistered and turned red. "Lucas!" I covered my mouth in horror, frozen in place. A pot of boiling broth? He had to be severely burned, maybe even disfigured. Lucas lay sprawled on the floor, trembling, his head covered in chili and oil, soup dripping all over his body. I rushed over in a panic to wipe him down.
The restaurant erupted in chaos. People turned their heads in shock, some pulling out their phones to record. The manager came rushing over and immediately dumped a bucket of cold water over Lucas Shepard. Staff members scattered. Some called the police, others dialed emergency services. My head was spinning with panic. As I looked up, I saw Lucy Havlin standing off to the side, arms crossed over her chest, her cold gaze locked on Lucas. She uttered each word slowly and clearly. "Lucas Shepard, drop the act." Then, in one swift move, Lucy reached out and tore the wig straight off Lucas's head. I jumped in both anger and alarm, my voice shooting up several octaves. "Lucy Havlin, what are you doing?" Even now, she was trying to prove Lucas wasn't human. She had been doing fortune-telling for too long. She was losing it. With the wig in hand, Lucy yanked my wrist and pulled me toward the exit. "Lucas will be fine. Come with me." I was so furious I could explode. I tried to argue, but she was already dragging me away. "He's badly burned. I have to stay and take care of him. Get him to the hospital. Stop pulling me." "No," Lucy snapped. Her grip suddenly became inhumanly strong. My wrist ached from the pressure, but my legs were still being dragged behind her. Within seconds, we were out of the crowd. I couldn't help but turn to look back at Lucas, but Lucy smacked the top of my head hard. Lucas doesn't fear burns, but without his 3 realms shroud, he'll revert to his true form within 30 minutes. That was it. I lost it. I yanked my arm free and pointed a trembling finger at her face. "True form? What the hell, Lucy? You're so deep in your medium fantasy, you've become addicted. What did Lucas ever do to you to deserve this kind of humiliation? If you're really as mystical as people say, why aren't you rich yet?" The truth was, the moment that boiling pot tipped over Lucas, I had already made up my mind. If he needed skin grafts, full reconstruction, I would pay for everything. I would never abandon him. Lucy's eyes turned glassy. She sniffed, but still stubbornly pulled me into the restroom. "Violet, what you're afraid of won't happen. The ambulance is already here. Let's just hide in here. Don't answer your phone." At least we got the wig. We'll know soon enough if I was right or not. I looked at the determined look in her eyes, at the way she kept flipping the wig in her hands like it was some kind of prize, and I couldn't stop the nausea rising in my throat. The hot pot. It wasn't an accident, was it? I grabbed her arm. "What did you do to distract the chef?"
Lucy pressed her lips together, not confirming, but not denying either. "I did it because I care about you, Violet." I was about to lose my mind. I turned to open the restroom door, but her back was pressed against the handle. I couldn't reach it. I trembled with rage. Just as I prepared to force her aside, the sound of an ambulance siren blared outside. Then came the clatter of stretcher wheels and a medic's urgent shout, "Clear the way! Bring the stretcher through!" Hearing that chaos calmed me slightly. Help had arrived. Lucas would be okay. Just then, my phone started ringing. I reached to answer, but Lucy snatched it from my hand. "It's definitely Lucas calling to get the wig back. Don't answer." I was both angry and anxious. How do you know it's him? What if it's the hospital? They need family consent to admit patients. What if we delay? He doesn't need to be admitted. Lucy cut me off coldly, her hand still gripping the wig tightly. Violet, Lucas doesn't need medical treatment. He just needs to disappear. Only 20 minutes left. I exhaled hard through my nose, clinging to the doorframe, trying to peek outside. They've put him on the stretcher. Lucy, this is all your fault. Lucy scoffed, still using her back to block the door. Violet, I'm not trying to hurt you. Honestly, he might vanish before he even reaches the hospital. I glared at her. At this point, her justifications meant nothing. This friendship was over. Move! No! Lucy didn't budge until someone knocked on the door. Violet, are you in there? I flinched. It was Lucas's voice. I shoved Lucy aside and flung the door open. There he stood, soaked in hot pot broth, the scent of spices clinging to him, his face twisted in discomfort. Violet, they cleaned me up. I just want to go home and take a shower. I froze in place. That broth had been hot enough to peel skin. And yet looking at Lucas Shepard, aside from a slight redness on his forehead and neck, there wasn't a single visible burn. A chill ran straight down my spine. Lucas, does it hurt? He bared his teeth in a grin. My skin's tough. I didn't get burned. My whole body tensed with unease. Goosebumps rose along my arms. Next to me, Lucy Haviland suddenly linked her arm through mine, smiling sweetly. If you're fine, then go home and rest. Besides, my parents aren't home tonight. Can I borrow your girlfriend for a bit? I silently begged her to take me away, and thankfully, she did just that. We ran straight back to Lucy's house. As soon as we stepped inside, she poured me a large glass of iced water. Only after I gulped it down did she ask, "Do you believe me now?" I shuddered, recalling the bone-chilling smile Lucas Shepard gave me earlier. I could only nod stiffly. "Stay here tonight," she said. "The wig's with us now, so Lucas should be unraveling." The time had come, 30 minutes exactly. My heart felt like a frightened rabbit, pacing restlessly. I wanted to call him, but didn't dare to. I couldn't sit still. It was good Lucas wasn't burned, but I didn't want him to just vanish like smoke either. And yet, if he wasn't a ghost like Lucy claimed, how had a full pot of boiling broth been poured on his head without causing serious injury? The thought sent a sharp pain shooting through my head. I rubbed my temples. Lucy, noticing, handed me another drink, this one warm with honey. It was soothing. "You're probably just in shock. Lie down in my bed for a bit. I'll sleep in the guest room tonight." I didn't even know when I fell asleep. But somewhere between dreams, I started hearing voices from the living room. The female voice was Lucy's. The male voice was unmistakably Lucas Shepard's. I heard Lucy's worried tone. "What do we do? We still haven't gotten it." Lucas reassured her. "Don't worry, Violet's an idiot. Just a little more effort and we'll have everything we need." They sounded disturbingly close. I froze, then bolted upright and headed for the door. Suddenly, a figure appeared right in front of me. I nearly crashed into him. Looking up, I was stunned into silence. It wasn't Lucas Shepard. But the man standing in front of me was even handsomer. Ridiculously handsome. He cleared his throat and said, "You must be Violet Jiang, the one dating a ghost?" I blinked again. He looked like a college student, but his voice sounded like a 70-year-old man. At that moment, Lucy poked her head from behind him and cheerfully chimed in. "Violet, this is my master, Yao Yang. Don't be fooled by his youthful looks. He's actually 75. Oh my God. I instinctively took a step back, but the pretty boy stepped forward. "Lucy called me here to restore your vitality. I can tell your energy's all over the place, but to restore it, we need to recover the remaining fragments of your boyfriend's soul." Zhao Yang's almond-shaped eyes scanned my face without emotion. "I just asked Lucy. He didn't go to the hospital. He rushed home instead, likely because losing the wig destabilized his soul. He's probably trying to retrieve it to regain control. This is the perfect time to capture him." I hesitated. I was scared of seeing Lucas again, but also terrified of never seeing him again. As I stood there conflicted, the doorbell rang. Lucy immediately paled. Even Zhao Yang looked surprised. "Did you invite someone else?" he asked. Lucy shook her head. Just as she was about to speak, a voice came from outside. "Violet, are you in there?" I practically jumped. It was Lucas Shepard. I rushed to the door, but Lucy grabbed my arm. "Are you crazy? Opening the door now is practically suicide." Zhao Yang added calmly, "When a ghost is on the verge of dissipation, their powers peak. If you face him now, you'll be the one who suffers." I didn't care anymore. I yanked my arm free and threw the door open. I'd had enough of this duo and their spiritual nonsense. Standing at the door was Lucas Shepard, dressed in clean clothes, looking pale and shaken. He immediately grabbed my shoulders and held me tightly. "Violet, thank God, you're alive." In that moment, between a decade-long friendship and my charming boyfriend, I chose the charming boyfriend. I didn't resist. I let him lead me downstairs. Only when we reached the curb did I ask, "Lucas, let me see the burn." He gave me a sheepish smile and tilted his head so I could unbutton his shirt. His neck was wrinkled and red. Turns out it had been hidden by his shirt at the restaurant. As soon as my fingers touched the burn, Lucas flinched in pain. "I didn't want you to worry, and I was afraid Lucy might hurt you, so I didn't go to the hospital." He winced, biting his lip, his face twisted in agony. "But baby, I can't take it anymore. I have to go to the hospital. I'm not made of steel." My nose stung with emotion. "It's okay, Lucas. We'll find the best burn specialist to treat you."
Deep, warm, and slightly husky, slow, controlled, maintains objective storytelling, neutral low female voice. Lucas Shepard hugged me gently, then suddenly asked with a hint of something deeper in his voice, "Violet, did Lucy Haviland tell you that I'm a wandering spirit? That once I lose my wig, I'll vanish?" I didn't expect him to ask so directly. It caught me completely off guard. Seeing me frozen in silence, he spoke even more softly, his voice warm and calm. "It's okay, Violet. I don't blame you. Let me show you something. Once you see it, you'll understand." It was a legal complaint. Defendant, Lucy Haviland. The amount owed made my jaw drop. 50 million yuan. Your best friend returned from overseas just last year, right? She and a man named Zhao Yang were sued by a company. Maybe she saw how generous you were with your money, worried you'd give everything to me, and decided she had to cut me out to keep you for herself. Zhao Yang? I was stunned again. Wasn't that the master Lucy introduced earlier? The man whose voice and build looked suspiciously like Lucas Shepard's? I stared at the lawsuit. At first I was skeptical, but thinking back, Lucy had always kept a tight leash on me. Even when I went out with boyfriends, I had to report my schedule to her. At the time, I thought she was just protective because I was naive. But looking back now, it all seemed off. My nose stung with emotion. Lucy had been my best friend for over a decade.
We shared everything. With my current finances, if she ever needed help, I would have gladly supported her. So why? Why did she choose to lie to me? Why make up ghost stories just to scare me, knowing full well how terrified I am of anything supernatural? I wiped away my tears. Lucas, I'm sorry. I really misunderstood you. Lucy told me that your wig wasn't a wig at all, that it was some kind of three realms shroud, that if it was taken off, you'd just... Lucas gently caressed my cheek. You'd turn into mist, right? If you like stories like that, I can tell you 100 fairy tales. I'm pretty sure that hot pot accident, Lucy caused it. She must have startled the waiter carrying the pot. Good thing it didn't hit my face.
Seeing him joke through the pain made my heart melt. You've suffered so much. I'm cutting Lucy off. She's gone too far. But can you explain one thing for me? Why wouldn't you let me touch your wig? Lucas gave a weak laugh. Okay, but promise you won't get scared, all right? I nodded. He raised his hand to his head and removed the wig. He was completely bald underneath. What I wore wasn't any three realms shroud or whatever. It was just a regular wig, meant to press down on the real one beneath. Lucas looked a little embarrassed as he muttered, "Underneath is my father's real hair. It's the only thing I still have of his. It makes me feel secure to carry it with me. To protect it, I wear a second wig on top." Hearing that, I understood completely. Ever since Mr. Shepherd passed away, Lucas had become more withdrawn, more quiet. It all made sense now. Then Lucas let out a soft, self-deprecating laugh. "Lucy's been watching your every move, making sure no one else gets close to you, even making up ghost stories." He stroked my hair and sighed. "Violet, you've got to be more careful. Honestly, people tend to judge others based on their own reflection. For example, I'm almost certain now your best friend is the one with something to hide. She might be the real wandering spirit." I froze. Lucy, the one claiming to be a spirit hunter, was the spirit herself? Just then, a voice called out from behind us. "Hey, how long are you two going to whisper back and forth like that?" A familiar voice. I jumped and turned around. Standing shoulder to shoulder were Lucy Haviland and her so-called master, Zhao Yong. Both were smiling cheerfully. But that smile, it sent shivers down my spine. That smile looked exactly like the one Lucas had in my nightmare that night under the moonlight. I couldn't help but step back in fear.
"Seven." Lucy Haviland waved at me cheerfully. "It's hot downstairs. Since you're already here, why don't you come up and sit for a while? Both of you, come in." The four of us stood there, eyes locked in a tense standoff. The atmosphere was tight as a drawn bowstring. I couldn't take it anymore. On one side was my boyfriend, on the other, my best friend, and now both were accusing the other of being a wandering spirit. So let's just sit down and get this over with. Besides, just as I couldn't believe Lucas Shepherd was a ghost, I was equally furious when he accused Lucy. We stepped inside. Lucy casually locked the door behind us. Then, she handed me a glass of honey water. "Drink it!" I looked down at the glass, then instinctively glanced over at Lucas. "What? Don't trust me?" Lucy's eyes turned red immediately. "You think I poisoned it?" I didn't know how to respond. The last 2 drinks she gave me had left my heart pounding, my body unsteady. I was racking my brain for a way to refuse without hurting her feelings when Lucas smiled and gently reached for the glass. "Violet's on her cycle. She shouldn't drink anything cold. I'll drink it for her." He finished it in one gulp, then let out a light burp. But not even 5 seconds later, his face turned pale. He clutched his stomach and groaned in pain. I panicked and rushed to hold him up. "What's wrong, Lucas?" Sweat poured from his forehead like rain. He trembled and barely managed to point at the honey water. "This drink, something's wrong." My head jerked up, eyes locking onto Lucy Haviland and Zhao Yang. They looked equally stunned. Lucy cried up, "Violet, it wasn't me. It was just normal honey water." But I couldn't trust her anymore. First the hot pot, now this drink, and every time, Lucas was the one who suffered. His complexion was rapidly fading, his breath weakened. My mind went completely blank. I pulled out my phone and dialed 120, but just as the call connected, I felt a sharp sting at the back of my neck, like a needle piercing into my skin. Startled, I clutched my neck and tried to turn around, but I couldn't move. It was like something had glued my neck in place. Without support, Lucas collapsed to the floor with a loud thud. The impact echoed heavily through the room. I burst into tears.
"Lucas, please open your eyes. Look at me, just once. This was all my fault. If I hadn't doubted him, I wouldn't have come to Lucy's place. If I hadn't come here, Lucas wouldn't have rushed over to protect me, and maybe he wouldn't be dead." Just then, Zhao Yang stepped up to me and gently pried the phone from my hand. Lucy suddenly smiled. "It's time, Violet," she said. "You should be thanking me, really. Out of friendship, I let you live this long. You even got to sleep with a hottie like that." I watched in horror as she reached behind her back, like a magician, and pulled out Lucas's wig. "Looking for this?" Then, with a dramatic flourish, she ripped off her own purple wig and threw it to the ground. I was too stunned to speak. I didn't even know what she was doing until she yanked off another wig. "Look closely, Violet. This is the real Three Realms shroud." She tossed the long black wig into my lap. I jerked back like I'd been electrocuted, screaming in shock. It felt like something filthy was crawling all over my body. Seeing my reaction, Lucy smiled with twisted satisfaction. "Scared now? Violet, have you really forgotten what you did to us back then? All we're doing is taking back what you owe, nothing more." Then she picked up my phone and covered my mouth tightly. Zhao Yang dialed a number and said calmly, "Medical emergency at Unit 6902, my dear home complex. Please send help immediately." He hung up, then knelt to feel Lucas's mech. "He's still warm. Let's begin." At his words, Lucy slowly approached me. She grabbed a fistful of my hair and raised her hand, then slashed her palm across my face like a blade. I crashed to the floor, and everything went dark. When I came to, my head was spinning. A man's voice echoed nearby. Under the light, a police badge on his shoulder reflected dimly. "Violet Jiang, Lucy Haviland is dead. Can you tell me what happened last night?" On instinct, I reached up to touch my scalp and exhaled in relief. The hair was shoulder length, neat, and sharp-looking. Good. I was Violet Jiang. "Vivi, you're awake," someone called out to me. I instinctively turned my head and nearly screamed. The person smiling gently at me was Zhao Yang. Under his gaze, I slowly recounted everything that had happened that day. It was Lucas Shepard who drank the honey water. As for the rest, I claimed to know nothing. "You should check the cup and the glass. I suspect there was poison in it." As I said that, I wiped my tears and sniffled. The police officer stared at me intently. "So you're saying your best friend poured the drink for you, but your boyfriend ended up drinking it?" I nodded,
wiping my nose, voice trembling. The officer nodded thoughtfully. But we've already tested the drink. There was no poison. Mr. Shepard died of acute heart failure, exactly like your best friend, Lucy Haviland. I almost blurted out, "That's impossible." I knew my body very well. Never had any heart issues, always healthy and full of energy. The officer closed his notebook and stared at me deeply, like he was trying to peer straight into my mind. Then why would your best friend want to harm you? Any idea? Zhao Yang cleared his throat gently beside me. I understood instantly. He was warning me not to say too much. I quickly shut my mouth. Once the police officer left, I immediately turned to Zhao Yang. "Master, you can't use Lucas Shepard's body, can you? Why not take it instead?" Zhao Yang looked stunned for a moment, then chuckled. "You heard the report. He died from heart failure. A body like that is no use to me. What a shame." I stretched out Violet Zhang's fingers. I had never noticed before. Her body was so slender, her fingers long and graceful. Such a pity. Beauty, but no brains. Then again, my half-sister had lived in luxury long enough. Now it was my turn. A month later, I was discharged from the hospital. To avoid suspicion, Zhao Yang and I lived separately for a while. I moved into Violet's villa and spent her money like water. Being rich was truly amazing.
Deep, warm, and slightly husky. Slow, controlled, maintains objective storytelling. Neutral low female voice.